Interesting. Now, why didn't they do that in the Flash movie? Oh. Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, 'tis I, Michael A. Grimm, aka the Multi-Voice. I have many voices, but one opinion. And I just gone through reading this issue of, Superman Man of Steel Countdown to 0 Hour issue 37. And this was a pretty awesome comic that that I've got from the Friendship flea market. And it kind of got me thinking. Marvel did the whole idea of a huge crossover multiverse of Spider-Man. I mean, right now, we got Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and also its sequel. And even MCU did Spider-Man Nowhere Home. Now, normally, I'm not a huge Spider-Man fan because, like I always say, Spider-Man is a menace to society. But one thing I did enjoy the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man series. And seeing Tobey Maguire returning as Spider-Man, I thought it was awesome. And even though I have heard about why not many people cast Tobey Maguire because of his drug addiction, and even some really, I mean, he pretty much acted like a real jerk to most people. Something that I think that him and Charlie Sheen had something in common. But it was really good seeing Tobey Maguire back, along with what's-his-head who played J. Jonah Jameson, and even some of the actors who played the villains from the Sam Raimi series. And I heard that in the sequel of the Spider-Verse, they're hinting that they're going to have some of the theatrical versions of Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. Which I gotta say, that's pretty cool. And hell, the whole Spider-Verse and Nowhere Home gave me the idea to create that one Doctor Who event where my doctor crossed over with all the other doctors in Disturbance in the Multiverse. But here's another thing. When I heard about the Flash movie, now, I haven't seen the Flash movie yet, but I have seen some of the clips. And it's really cool that they have Ben Affleck's Batman, and of course, Michael Keaton as Batman. And I know that this was all going to be based on the Flashpoint Paradox. Now, I'm not a big fan of Flashpoint Paradox, but they did their best on trying to make Flashpoint Paradox, but in a different twist. Like having Supergirl instead of Superman, and having Michael Keaton Batman instead of Ben Affleck. And I'm starting to see why most actors and writers are now protesting, because now the Hollywood studios are now using AIs for actors and writers. Yeah, I don't like that idea. I'm sorry, but even as a guy who make my own series with audio, there's not a chance in hell I would ever use an AI to write down a script for me, or use an AI to do some voice acting. No chance on that, because I'm not going to be using an AI for that. And now I would use AI for CGI designs, because they have done some pretty good 3D animation that are pretty awesome, but that's how far I'll go. But there's no way I'm going to use an AI for script writing or voice acting. Heck, I wouldn't even use them for acting as actors. If I do live action videos, I'd like to hire some people who wants to star in it. But one thing it did bother me the most was the ending on that Flash movie. Where the Flash, spoilers for those of you who haven't seen it, that the Flash finally fixed the paradox and let his mother die. And all of a sudden, he meets Bruce Wayne, but it's not either Ben Affleck or Michael Keaton Bruce Wayne, but George Clooney. Seriously? George Clooney? Out of all the actors who played Batman, why choose the actor who played the most god-awful, pathetic, worst Batman ever? I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry for those of you who like Batman and Robin, but to me, Batman and Robin sucked. I didn't like George Clooney's performance. He's just playing George Clooney dressed as Batman. He's not changing his voice. Everybody knows, anybody who plays Batman, even Kevin Conroy got it. Anybody who plays Batman, when they're wearing the mask, they have to be like, I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman. That's how I do it. If I'm playing Batman, that's exactly what I'll be doing. And you know one thing I think they should do? They should do exactly what they did in this comic book, which I'm going to tell you pretty soon. Oh, by the way, why George Clooney? Hell, they should have bring Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne. At least have Christian Bale be connected to the DC universe. I know Christopher Nolan's saying that he doesn't want his Dark Knight to be connected to the DC universe, but I would love to see Christian Bale showing up as Batman in the DC cinematic universe. Or even put Robert Pattinson. Anybody but George Clooney. I know he's a good actor, but I just didn't like his performance of Batman. And of course, another thing I do have a problem with George Clooney is his liberal speech and his smug attitude. He always gets so smug every time, going like, hi there, I'm George Clooney. I'm a huge star. I'm so handsome. Yeah, deal with it. But anyway, for those of you who wants to know about what happened in this comic, well, now this one is a part of a comic book event they did called Countdown to 0 Hours. And I'm not going to explain everything about the Countdown to 0 Hours. Let my favorite comic book critic, Linkara, do the review of, talk about 0 Hours. Find his video and listen to him explaining a lot about Countdown to 0 Hours. But the problem was he didn't mention about this issue. I think it's because of time. He didn't have enough time to explain this part for us Batman fans, but this time I have a chance to explain it to you folks. Now, what it's all about, there's this, there's Lois Lane and, of course, 90s Superman, the one who's rocking the mullet. I didn't understand why Superman has to have a mullet. I like Superman just the way it is, just short hair with a spit curl, no mullets. But, in his story, he comes across the OG original Batman here. And he's like the OG original in this story. And of course, Superman and Batman talk to each other for a while Jimmy Olsen, Superman's best friend, he was going to go meet a rock star who goes by the name of Babe Takruna, or whatever her name was. I don't know much about her, but the only thing I do know about her is that she's a rock star who's also a vampire. I mean, I did a lot of research in all the DC vampire characters, but that character wasn't exactly much of an important character, especially as a vampire character as well. So, that's why I didn't mention about her. But anyway, this other guy, he gets ambushed by a group of teenage punks who calls himself the Mutants, not to be confused with the X-Men mutants. And then coming out of nowhere is another Batman, which is the Dark Knight Return Batman. Now, he's my favorite Batman of all time because he's older, he's gruff, and takes no crap from anybody, except the government wants him to get him back in retirement, even talk to Superman to force him back into retirement, and that's what started that famous fight between Superman and Batman, because the government told Superman to tell his friend to get back in retirement and quit being Batman. But digress. And then the OG Superman and Batman showed up, and they met the Dark Knight Return. Turns out that some of the dimensional worlds are still opening. And then from out of nowhere, out comes the original Bill Finger Batman. Now this one is the very first Batman back in 1939. This is what the original Batman originally looked like from the comics. From the original comics. And now he shows up along with the OG Batman and the Dark Knight Return Batman. And they start working together to take down the rest of the mutants. Even Superman helped them out too. While at the same time, Jimmy Olsen is taking pictures to that vampire rock star. And she's an old friend to Jimmy Olsen, so they both hugged and chat with each other, saying that that's just special effects. It ain't real, even though she's lying. And then the scientists from Star Lab all of a sudden found a portal that pretty much opened doors to other worlds. And then from out of nowhere, out comes the Adam West Batman. That's right, old chum. The legendary Adam West showed up in this universe. And of course, the Golden Age Batman, the only Batman in the Golden Age who smiles, because back in the 50s, they don't want heroes to be dark and brooding, so they're more light and funny. That's how the Golden Age was. And they finally realized that they all need to go back to their own dimension, or else it's going to create a huge disaster in our world, the original world. So, Jimmy Olsen said goodbye to the vampire, Lois Lane says goodbye to an old friend, and every single Batman went back to their appropriate time. And as Batman and Superman talked about what the heck happened, what broke the barrier and all that, and from out of nowhere, one of the new gods showed up, goes by the name of Metron. Now, one thing I know about Metron is he's one of the new gods, except he's a god who sits on this high-tech throne, giving him all the knowledge he needs. And you know, that's kind of funny that Batman meets him, because in the latest comic books, Batman himself took over Metron's chair and even got all the information he needs, and even the guy who killed his parents, Joe Chill. But in this one, Metron is warning Superman and Batman about the problem that's going on. Turns out that there was a rocket ship from outer space. It now landed into Kansas. right where Superman's parents, his adopted parents, George and Martha Kent. Yeah, I'm familiar with the Batman v Superman. The whole, Martha! They're gonna kill Martha! Why you say that name? Why you say that name? God, that was so stupid. But George and Martha Kent gets a knock on the door, and then from out of nowhere, out comes Jor-El and Laurel, Superman's Kryptonian real parents. And that's them standing on the doorstep. And there's George Kent just going like, huh? And that's the end of this issue here. And you know, that got me thinking. I mean, if DC wants to be more like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, it would be really cool to have Batman into the Batverse. And have Superman there along for the ride. And it would be, I mean, it'll be a lot like on this comic here. I mean, in the cover in this comic, I see all the Batmans I know here. There's The Dark Knight Return. There's the first original from Bill Finger. This one here is this one's the Golden Age Batman. And this one here is the Adam West. This one here is from the 1940s serial. And this one here is Kevin Conroy Batman animated series. And of course over there, that's Batman from the Blood Rain. You know, that alternate story about the Batman who lives in his world where vampires exist, and he goes one-on-one against Dracula, but before Batman kills Dracula, Dracula bit him and turned him into a vampire. So now he's a vampire Batman. I mean, you can pretty much spot every single Batman's throughout this entire comic. And it kinda, I mean, makes me wish that they should do like a cartoon or an animated movie or something like that. And that's why I'm complaining about the Flash movie, because that's the only gripe I have. I mean, seriously, George Clooney? I mean, I understand Val Kilmer. I mean, he has this throat disease, this throat cancer thing, so he couldn't talk, so... I mean, he's way too sick to be Batman again. Although he wasn't that good of a Batman. I mean, he was okay. But George Clooney was the worst! I mean, out of all the actors in the world, why George Clooney? And yes, I know I've seen the video where Joel Schumacher apologized on how he destroyed Batman. But I'm sorry, but it still left me a scar that I will never forgive. I mean, I'm sorry, folks, who disagrees with me, but this is my thought for the day about, you know, this and the Flash movies. Anyway, at least I have the 12-inch Batman figure from the Rebirth, and of course the Batman figure next to that television, along with Wonder Woman and Superman, is the one from the Hush universe. I mean, hell, I could round up every single Batman action figure I have in my storage, have my own multiverse of Batmans. Be pretty awesome. But anyway, this is my thought for today. And for those of you who do enjoy my gripe about the whole Flash movie and everything, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe for more. And as for me, I'm still working on my Flash Gordon meets Buck Rogers. Right now, I'm down to 3. I'm still waiting for one of my stars and his girlfriend and my mom. But I got the rest. And I'm also working on another Doctor Who audio episode. And this time, my Doctor Who is going to be meeting the very first space hero, which I have reviewed him before, and it is Dan Dare. So stay tuned, guys. Anyway, I'm the multi-voice reviewer. I remember, I can jog a memory.